Okay, I think it's connecting right now. All right, are we live? Let's see here. Okay, I think we are live.
Are we good?
Yeah, I think so. Took us a second to set up some stuff. This delay is messing me up here, but yeah. For people in the comments or viewing, if anybody is watching right now or getting on, can you just kind of tell us if our audio is okay and if we sound okay or if there's too much noise in the background? Any technical issues, just let me know. All right, so welcome. This is a kind of our Animbreak second in a series. And today I am interviewing Roy Alderton.
How are you doing?
And let's just get into it. So,
sure.
Roy,
Yes.
What do you do, and how did you break into
What do I
industry?
do? Okay, so I'm an animator on the champion team at Riot Games on a game called League of Legends. I've been on this team now for about coming up to 5 years. I really like the game, so I love to work here. Took me a while to find that sweet spot of work, but I think I found it here, and yeah, that's what I do.
And how did you give me your break-in story? How did you break into?
Oh, the break-in story. Okay, so it goes back like 15 years. So yeah, I started to mod games when I was young. I really liked a game called Max Payne, and I was fortunate enough to find the dev tools on that disc when that game came out for the PC. It had like a free rig on it and something to get started with in Max, 3D Studio Max. So I started to use that instead of going to school, pulling sick days and just doing that all day. And I really like to do it, and because as soon as you put your first animation in something, and you press a button and you start playing it, it's like, wow, I did that, and like that was like, that ignited the flame. So yeah, so I started to do that for about 4 or 5 years, released a mod which got like 50,000 downloads. I was like blown away by the reception. I was like, oh, holy crap, like I did that, you know what I mean? So yeah, that just like, as I said, just ignited the flame, and I was really passionate to sort of pursue that as a full-time career. However, I didn't know you could actually do that as a career. I didn't know it was that easy to sort of, send a reel off and start like applying and actually get a response.
Real quick, when you were calling in your sick days and you're just like all into, was this high school or was this university?
This was high school / college, yeah.
Nice. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I was, for some reason I'd picked an internet computing course to do, and I was just like so not into it, I was kind of like getting peer pressured just to do something at university, so I picked this course. I didn't really like to do it, and yeah, just was doing my own thing, like in my own time, and so I was just spamming my resume off and telling people, like companies, oh look, I made this mod, are you interested? Have you got any entry-level positions? I spammed it to about 100 different places, and then eventually I got an opportunity at a company called Jagex as a junior animator. But actually, a cool part of that story I forgot to tell is I actually got a response back from the guys who made Max Payne. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, I've still got that email saying Mika, yeah, and he was like, dude, we can tell that you're definitely going to get there one day because of all this effort you've put in. I actually made a couple of mods, and he was like, it's amazing what you've done at such a young age, keep going. And that was a real cool sort of,
yeah, total like, validation.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, kept the morale up,
Yeah.
So it kept me hunting for the job, and then yeah, I was just helping student projects and things, just doing anything I could to sort of animate, and then yeah, then I came across Jagex, got an entry-level job, and I was so happy, and then that was kind of the start. Worked on a game called well, it wasn't announced. Can I announce it? I think it was. Yeah, it was called Mechscape. It was going to be a sequel to RuneScape, and then that got canned, and then moved on to a game called Transformers, and then yeah, worked on that for a while, and that's where I really started to get my hands into Maya. Because up until that point, I'd really been on Max, and then using proprietary tools at Jagex. I hadn't really had much time with Maya, but yeah, on Transformers we had a good 3-4 years on Maya, and then yeah, I sort of became really versed in that, and then applied to Riot. My brother was like, oh, you need to play this game, League of Legends, and I was like, oh, what is this game? Because my brother's in the Air Force, and all those guys play League of Legends in the bunker and that, and he's like, you need to play it, he's a really big gamer, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I was like, yo, the animation style on this is awesome, and I could really get into this. So I tracked down the animation director at the time, of Riot on a forum, and I was like PMing him and like saying, "Oh, can I do the animation test, please?" And then he got back to me, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Like, you know, he actually got back to me. So I was like, "Yeah, can I do the animation test?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." So I did one, and then he was like, I was flattered by the response. He was like blown away by the animation test. He was like, "That's one of the best we had." And I was like, "What, really?"
Nice.
You know, I was like, "Holy crap!" And I just like loved the style, you know, the squash and stretch, and I wanted to see where we could take it. And yeah, he flew me over, and then we interviewed. And about 2-3 weeks after that, yeah, I was offered the animator position here at Riot, and then 5 years later, here we are. But yeah, I've condensed that into quite a small story, but it went on for a while, and it was a slog, you know.
I'm curious, like, because a lot of people always, you know, they want to kind of know that tipping point or that kind of spark on like how the foot got in the door, actually, right? And for you, it was like so we backtrack a bit, like, how did you even get into the mods? Like, how did you find out how to do all that stuff?
I was actually on the phone to a friend, and we were both playing Max Payne, and we were obsessed with like the bullet time and all that, you know, and like it was revolutionary at the time, and he just mentioned on the phone like, "Oh, you can make your own stuff for it," and I was like, "What, really?" Like, I don't know how he found that out, and I was like, "What?" And I didn't really believe him. I was like, "How can you do that?" You know, and I was like, I went back to my into my room, and I was like, "What was he talking about? You could make your own stuff for it," you know? And so I was like looking around, and then lo and behold, did a Google search and found out that there was actually a rig on the disc to get started with. So I was like, "Holy crap!" And then I was like, "So what do I need to do now?" Get a copy of Max, which, you know, you can get hold of, you know. But yeah, I got that, and then started jamming away on stuff. I was just totally green. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just lost in this tool, but I knew that I had this rig up on the screen, and I could move the arms around and stuff, and I was watching The Matrix at the time, you know, all the bullet time stuff, and Max Payne. It was just perfect timing, you know, and I was like, "Oh, I want to make some of that stuff." So I was like making like one-handed cartwheels and all that for Max Payne, and then like it was just, oh, the glory days, man. It was so fun, you know. It's just exactly what I wanted to be doing, and I was just having so much fun doing it, you know, and that's what kept me coming back to it, you know. So yeah.
When I was starting out, I got my hands on a copy of Max as well, and but it was like super intense. Like like my first walk, I was like, it was just like
Oh, yeah.
it was sideways,
Yeah.
and I couldn't. Like, how did you even? I guess like, did it just kind of click, like, or would you start messing around with buttons?
I had no idea about like sort of the deep side of animation when I was doing this stuff. I was just kind of studying movements that I see around me, like you know, cool moves on the Matrix and stuff like that, and then just doing those core poses, you know. Mm-hmm. And then like if you do like someone upside down, like in a one-handed cartwheel, like you kind of have to like just work out how they get there. Now I'd be like at my desk, like doing another bit, and then like going back and just sort of like molding this animation from just doing these like poses at my computer. You know, like I started to really get into like the deep side of it, like follow through, overlap, and secondary action. You know, exaggerated posing and all that. Like way further down the line, I was just so happy to be sort of putting things in this game and being able to sort of press a button and that stuff happened. You know, I was just like. That kept me motivated, and I was just sort of looking at stuff, you know, motion reference, and I was just like sort of building the anims up as I go, you know. It took me a while, you know. I'd be like I was like rotoscoping a lot of stuff as well. Like have a video up and then have Maya and just like frame it and then make another, like move the video a little bit more, then frame it again, you know, and you'd end up building this animation that worked, and you're like, how did I do that? You know, is it really that easy? You know what I mean? So
that's crazy, because it's like yeah, you jumped in before the kind of like learning the principles of animation.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. But mind you, I really feel like my skills started to level up when I was obviously like, you know, animated survival kit, and then sort of deep diving, and you understand more about what you were doing, you know. But it all comes down to posing at the end of the day, you know. Like in my opinion, you know, if those poses are right, you know, you can add those principles in and make things more rich. But if you get those poses in, it's going to work at a foundational level. So.
So how did you? So you got you're starting to do mods. You got a bunch of downloads. You're starting to get some traction there.
Yeah.
And then when you actually applied for a job, did you like? How do you apply using a mod? Do you send a link? Do you like a video?
Yeah, basically. Well, I had a reel, which unfortunately I was looking for it just before this because I wanted to show those first animations I was doing, you know. But yeah, I took that down. But yeah, so I sent it out with my resume, you know. I mean, just like I was telling all sorts of stuff on my resume, you know, like I mean, it wasn't necessarily true, but like I was just trying to get that foot in the door, you know what I mean? So But yeah, I'd send the real link that I'd done, and then just to explain it, made this mod. It's downloadable here, 50,000 downloads. Check the download thing. You know what I mean? I was just like trying to big myself up. I was like, guys, look, you know, like anything to get my foot in the door, you know. And I was just, yeah, man, it took years. I remember the day I got offered the job at Jagex, my dad literally like threw me out the house. He was like, go get a job, you know. And I was like, oh god. And then as I was like getting thrown out the house, like the phone rang. It was like, what's going on? And I was like, by the way, we'd like to come for an interview. I was like, oh, saved, you know what I mean? But yeah,
Nice.
yeah, man, it was a slog, you know. I don't recommend going that route to anybody, you know, like that's not the route you want to go these days. There's plenty of educational stuff going on, you know, and you could learn a lot easier than that. But back in the time, and it was a lot easier to mod games back then, you know, like the rigs were fairly simple, you know. Trying to mod, say, Call of Duty now or something with a million different bones, it's a lot more complex. So yeah, it was just kind of timing thing as well, you know. Yeah, right place, right time.
Back in those days, they didn't have. I mean, there's like a ton of free rigs out there now.
Yeah,
Software's free,
exactly.
engines
you know,
are free.
It's a lot easier to do it now. Yeah, yeah. I don't recommend that route to anyone, but like, it was just about finding something I really enjoyed to do. You know, in those teen years, you're trying to find something that like keeps your attention. You know, and you want to keep doing things, and it's like, oh well, what does it? School wasn't doing it. You know, college wasn't doing it. And this animation, and I've always been a gamer as well, so like these things combined at that time was just like I found it, you know, so it's what kept me going, you know. But yeah, it's good.
What I was going to ask was, you actually didn't, you kind of did that on your own self-taught. Did you end up going to classes for animation, or no? I don't know.
Yeah, I just sort of studied on my own time. I sort of, the animated survival kit, you know, like that was the turning point, big time, like learning the absolute like core principles and everything, and sort of applying those to my workflow a lot more, you know. And I studying people's work is another great thing as well. Like I have a lot of people I look up to, you know, in the industry, and I'll sort of study their work and sort of watch their blocking and sort of pick and choose things here and there from all these different people that I think they're doing really well, you know, and sort of mesh it. But yeah, like the biggest and best way I've found to learn is just like framing through work, you know, and just like studying and sort of understanding what's going on. Half-Life, Valve games, you know, like I learn a lot from those as well. And just watching things online, you know, as well, like studying sort of talks that people do, you know, just anything I can get my hands on now. You know, the internet, as you said, but you know, it's a lot more available now, you know, so it's a lot easier to get your hands on those stuff. But back in the day, it was a lot more fresh, and it was a little bit more sort of difficult, you know. There wasn't really like courses or classes as much as there is today back in those days. So
yeah, I remember like any little like nugget you came across was like, it was just like, oh,
that's how it's done.
Yeah, like, oh, I gotta like, you know, you totally like analyze it and break it down, reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
Now like things are just like links just come at you, you're just like, yep.
Exactly. Go on Google, go on video search, you know, you get a million different things, you know. But back in those days, like, you know, it was a lot more.
So when you, so having like not necessarily any formal education, and you kind of like, you know, kind of came up in the mod scene, when you got your first gig, official gig, industry gig, you know, I'm just assuming right now, but like there was no like, because you didn't go through that education track, there was not instructors being like, this is how you should be when you get in the industry. Well, did you feel any kind of like culture shock or shell shock?
So this is a funny story, right? So I go to Jagex day one, and it's the interview, and you do the interview, you know, you do all the talking, you tell a bunch of lies, you know. No, I didn't tell that many lies, you know. But no, I was just like, I was like, got like awards that I never got and all this, you know. I was just trying to stay there, you know. I was just I couldn't let it fail, you know. I didn't want to go back to like the household, you know. So
do you remember what kind of award are you talking about?
Oh, I don't know. I made so much stuff up back then, man. You know, just to try and stay, just to get that job. I needed to get that job. I couldn't go home without that job.
Hey.
I hope none of those guys are listening now. You know?
There's a statute of limitations.
Yeah.
You're good.
But I'll continue with that story, right? So we do the interview. We go to the desk, and they're like, "Oh, do an animation test. It's a 2-day animation test. We want you to animate this character doing a kick, you know, and I was like, yes, because all I'd been doing on Max Payne was Kung Fu, you know, I made like a lot of Kung Fu systems for Max Payne in the mods, like punches, kicks, so I just like, that was really easy, I nailed that day one, you know what I mean, I was just like, yeah, that looks dope, you know, and they came back, looked at that, they were like, did you use any pose reference for this? I was just like, no, it's just all in my head, you know, I've been doing it for like 5 years, so just making Kung Fu and flips and all that, so did that, and then day two, they were like, okay, so we want you to animate a quadruped tomorrow. And I was like, never animated a quadruped before, so I'm like, oh, how am I going to do this? So I go back to the hotel, I'm like, crap, I'm looking through the animated survival kit, like studying these poses, like looking away, like, was I right? Fuck, like trying to remember all the leg poses, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, oh, I can't risk failing. So I like literally ripped that page out the survival kit, right? I ripped it out of the survival kit,
awesome.
and then went to with it in my pocket, and like, and I was like, doing it, and then like, I'd be posing it in pose one, and when no one was looking, I'd be like, oh, what's pose two, you know, then what's pose three, you know, so.
That's so awesome.
But yeah, and then I did it really well, you know, but I was like looking at the page, you know, I didn't know at the time.
Hey, that's reference, man.
Yeah, well,
That's
exactly,
reference.
but I didn't know if they would allow that, so yeah, I did that, and then they were like, oh, yeah, okay, we'll call you back, and then, yeah, a couple of weeks after that, they rang back and said, yeah, we'd like to offer you the job, and I was just like, yes!
Nice.
I did it, you know?
That's awesome. Was it in Max then?
No, they were in-house tools. They were really tough tools to use. It didn't have any interpolation, you know what I mean? So it didn't have any automatic interpolation. Again, you make a frame on 1 and then 30, and it'll just run through to 30 and interpolate, you know. But these was like you set a key on 1, and then you had to create a new keyframe, and then set one on 2. And then you'd select both keyframes and press create tween, and it would create one frame in the middle.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And it would be like 50% way. And then you'd go to those two, and then create 2 more, and you'd have to like basically make every one of these keys. You know?
Interesting.
It was. I mean, it really helped me level up as well, because you really had to know what you were doing to do that. You know, so yeah, I credit that as well. That tool, as horrible as it was.
That's that is a good learning tool.
Yeah, it made it more difficult. So you know.
So you were kind of like having to deal with that while doing the animation test then, in a way.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I was like learning this new thing. Luckily, you know, like animation, it's you know, you are looking at the viewport, setting poses. I mean, it's not like, I mean, there is a science behind it, but it's not like you need to know a ton of different tools. You know, I mean, like, I mean, it helps to know lots of different tools and different aspects of Maya, but as long as your core posing's good, you know, you can get by. You know what I mean? So.
All right, so that was a great story, man.
Oh, yeah.
That was good. That was good.
Thanks for making me tell it again. I'd forgotten.
So we the way this kind of works is I kind of get people to take the teller breaking in story.
Yeah.
And then I know for this particular for this one, Rory. For those of you who checked out his kind of animation process video from before, doing some League of Legends work, it's like badass. I love it. It's just like really breaks it down very clear. He has a new one. He's got a new one, and
hot off the press. Yeah, I finished it yesterday.
Hot off the press.
Damn, so, make a play blast, man. Honestly.
we're actually gonna play through it here, and then Rory can kind of break it down even more, and we can take questions if people have questions that come online. I think I'm seeing a few questions already, so. That'll be cool. I think before we get into that, what I like to ask people is anim tip. Do you have an anim tip that you've heard or found out or recently?
Tip. Sure, yeah. Well, I've got a load, but you know, there's a load I live by. But the main one, you know, going back to what I got by on in the early days was posing. You know, it was all about poses for me. You know, and that equates down to sort of blocking out, you know, that foundational level before you start to really get your hands dirty with an animation. You know, is making sure the block-in process, and you're really happy with those poses, going through them, making sure that the body mechanics is all, you know, going together nicely. It's a nice flow to it. You know, just because if you move ahead and you're like still iffy on some parts, you know, it's only going to get worse from there. You know, like you need to be like super happy with that initial pose pass, that initial block out. You know, don't start going anywhere until you can look at that and be like, I am super happy with that. You know, don't go ahead if it's like, you know, it's all right, it'll do. You know, it doesn't work out in your favor down the long run. You know, and yeah, it hurts the piece moving forward too quickly. So yeah, that would be my tip. It's just like, blocking phase is the most important. You know, don't skip ahead if you're not happy with your poses.
Yeah, a lot of times And I've done it. I've been guilty of it where I'm like, I'll fix that in the second pass.
Yeah.
I'll make it stronger in the second
I've
pass.
been guilty
but
before. Yeah, that's how
it
I
bites.
learn
It bites you, right?
It does. Yeah, that's how I mean, that's what I'm saying. You know, I've had so many headaches. Like I've just been like, you know, and I take extra care in all of my blockouts now. I'm just making sure they're super. You know, I'm happy with all the poses. Turn the lights off. You know, go in silhouette view. You know, and just like look at your lines. Make sure that pose and all the posing goes together nicely. I mean, this is a big ask, but if you can get 75% of the timeline with the key pose on it, you know, interpolate in 25%. That's good, you know. But like, it takes a long time to get there, and you might not have time to do it. So pick and choose your battles wisely as well, you know.
Yeah, well, that's a good tip. You want to play this, and then let's.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see how video looks on.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't come through like laggy or anything. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'll be uploading this to my YouTube where the other one lives.
Yeah. You'll do that today, or something?
I'll do that today.
Okay.
Yeah, after this. I just wanted to sort of show it on this first.
Let's. So I'm gonna try to turn on the desktop video, and then I'll see if that kind of like. So if that kind of. I'm gonna try to turn on the desktop video, and then I'll see if that kind of like. So I'm gonna try to turn on the desktop.
Is that what the screen looks like?
Yeah. So you're right here.
It's kind of missing it.
Oh yeah, you're right. Hold on, everyone.
You're getting half of it.
I don't know why that's happening. Let's see. Oh yeah.
Why don't you just make this? Yeah, make the video.
Hold on.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sorry guys.
You're getting half of it.
I don't know why that's happening. Let's see.
Why don't you just make this? Yeah,
Start that over. Sorry guys.
You're getting half of it.
I don't know why that's happening. Yeah, that's okay.
Why don't you just make this?
Start that over.
Are we talking over this?
You can. I mean, we're on the mic right now.
Yeah, if the guys have the audio that goes with it, I don't want to sort of talk through it. We can always revisit it after.
You can. Okay. I mean, we're on the mic right now.
Yeah, if the guys have the audio that goes with it, I don't want to sort of talk through it. We can always revisit it after.
Okay. I mean, we're on the mic right now. Could probably just kind of like. Just kind of talk it out a little bit.
Talk through it, okay. So yeah, this is Rek'Sai, you know, the body was a lot of fun animating on this guy, you know, just try get lots of shapes in there, lots of squash and stretch when he's traveling. Fast, you know, always reverse C shapes when you can, try get the spine moving in different positions. This bite does a lot of weird things, like it scales, look like that mouth, doesn't make sense how scaled that is. And then it just all, you know, target points, that one front center point, and then you shake limbs around a bit to give it like a feel when you press the button, you know, it's always good to like feel like a rattle afterwards, so you shake it around afterwards, you know. Really amped up the posing on that one, translate, scale, everything, just to make it really big and feel fierce when you do it. This is some of the basic attacks. Wanted him to sort of launch himself with his body on this one, so his body is like sort of leading the way, and you know, you get that really outreach pose, and then he comes back and he's compressed again. Just making sure those shapes are always contrasting each other, getting things feeling good. And then, yeah, some Jin stuff on here. I got a lot of requests, like, oh, show some Jin animations, so I went through some of Jin stuff.
Nice.
Did some of the basic attacks. Took the cape off here. This is basic attack 1, you know, just try to get a nice pose, and then the shooting pose, followed by the fire frame, scale up the gun a lot, you know, really amp that up, and then one frame back into the recoil pose, all the reverse C's going on. Impact, shake, obviously you're moving hold there, waiting for the player to press the next button. If they don't, then it'll just revert back to idle. Those are always tricky back to idles, you know, you don't want to make them just like,
back to a pose.
Yeah. I always try to put like a little bit of a flourish in there. You never know when the player's just not going to press anything and be like, what does that look when it goes back, you know? And like if it's nice, it'll be a nice sort of surprise, you know. Yeah, again, back into the recoil pose. Impact is a big thing in League. Always like shaking things around, you know, after an impact. It just makes things feel better, you know. It's sort of unique to our style. a lot of games do like camera shake and things like that, you know, but we tend not to do that. You know, I think Garen's ult has that, but like we can't really do that. You'll get nauseated, you know, like playing with 1,000 different shakes. So shaking up the character, rattling him a bit, you know, is always a way. Yeah, Jin was a lot of fun to animate because his limbs are so like stretchy, you know, and his awesome proportions to work with, and it was like an animator's dream working with Jin. You know, big long legs, big arms. You know, always like a character with big arms. You know, because I always hyperextend the arms, so having them default in a decent sort of length is a good one. The cape, I don't know if I mentioned it, was simulated end cloth at the front there for collision and the top at the back, and then jiggle chain down the bottom. Just give you really nice free motion, you know. You didn't really have to sort of animate much of it. Some of the things we did animate it on, obviously you want stylized capes in certain motions, you know, like spins and stuff, but like for these basic attacks it was a nice secondary that we just wanted sort of lying on the character. And again, no input, so just back to idle. That one's a little bit, I could have probably done better on that, but you know, I didn't want to do. The cape sort of let me off a bit on that back to idle. This is the fourth attack. This is like the super shot that he does, you know. Crazy amounts of stretch from this view, but I just wanted to show like how much we put in. Then a massive gun scale.
Nice.
To sell that shot, and then just crazy back to that pose. Get all those lines working. And then, yeah, the recoil for this one was a lot bigger, so his body had to sort of move up. Lands at a move and hold. Yeah, waiting for the next input. And then just back to idle again, and then goes through that again. Yeah, with the sound guys, everyone did an amazing job at this champ, in my opinion. Like, it really comes together when you're playing it in League, you know, with all the different parts, the VFX, sound, well designed, animated, model, textured, everything.
Yeah, I love Jin.
Such a really fun character to animate. And this is his ult when he's firing, he's deployed, and he sort of shoots back. Yeah, lots of recoils on this guy, you know, all these guns. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, that's the end. That's it.
Nice, man. That was nice. That was a great breakdown.
Oh, thank you. I hope it's helpful.
Yeah, I think I'll be framing through this stuff later.
Oh,
just checking it out.
Well, thank you.
Is there anything that you wanted to kind of like talk about specifically in here, like any particular posing, or we can just?
I mean, is there anything in particular people want us to talk about, or I mean, I think the thing that what do people find interesting about this?
I think the thing that kind of stands out to me, obviously, like there's a lot of good stuff, but like how do you incorporate, like, there's obviously times where you want to stretch and stuff like that, but like, what is your thought process when you are pushing this pose out like this kind of stretching pose?
So,
like, is there something that drives for, like, what kind of energy drives first, or? Yeah,
well, I'm a big fan of like anticipation, compression, you know, uncompression, stuff like that. So, I mean, movements are obviously from one state to the other. So just think about it as sort of, you know, compressed to uncompressed. Like this one goes from normal to stretched, and then up into the anticipation above, which is sort of, you know. So when I was animating this, I think I was like, oh well, I know I need this cool diving pose, you know. So how do you get there, you know? So you just have this like stretch out and then into like the diving pose, you know, the uncompressed diving pose, you know. So just thinking about things like that, like contrasting motions, compression to uncompressed, stretch. Like when you land, for instance, you know, your passing pose, I mean your contact pose when you land is it's very stretched out, you know, it's very uncompressed, and then when you land you're going into like a crouch, you know, so that's compressed, and then you're standing back up to idle, which is uncompressed, you know. So just thinking about how you sort of cycle through those movements is how sometimes I come up with a squash and stretch, you know.
Okay.
As I said as well before, I have a lot of poses just ingrained in my head from doing this for quite a while, that sort of I can just build it up in my head and think about an animation. It's really important, I think, as well, just to think about an animation, you know, before you start working on it, and just try get something in your mind. If you go in it and just, I mean, that can work. It's like freehand and straight ahead, you know, that can work. But it's kind of good just to, before you even start blocking, you know, this is a tip for the tip, you know, that I gave. So yeah, before you even start blocking, spend a few days or I don't know, some time just thinking about an animation, try think of the pattern of it, think about what you want to achieve with it, and then start your blocking. You know, take a while and come up with a cool idea, you know, or like an idea that you think is going to work. If you just go in sort of with no idea and just start like, oh, what am I going to do? It can take you a little bit longer, you know. So.
Oh, are we echoing? Hold on, guys. I'm not sure why it's echoing.
It's getting sound from somewhere.
Okay, we're good now. Sorry, I don't know how long that was going for. My bad. We had some questions here. Let me just find it. One question was from Tyler at Dr. Flapjack. Thanks for watching, Tyler. It's how do you motivate yourself when working on something mundane?
Good question, Tyler. Yeah, I would. It depends whereabouts you are at in your career. Unfortunately, when we first are looking for a job, we're probably not going to be doing things we really like to do all the time. Comes with, you know, the journey. But eventually, you want to be aiming to work on a game or a product or anything that you feel passionate about. Because if that's the case, then you know every day you're going to be energized to come in, and then regardless of the task, you'll just be a joy to be working on sort of the product you're really inspired by. But I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, you know. Stay motivated other ways if you're not in that position by you know, just checking things out in your spare time, doing some work in your spare time, chatting with other animators, chatting with artists, you know, just keeping that flame alive. Always looking at the next task, I guess. If you want to do something, you know, like, well, I'll do this to the best of my ability. I wonder what we can do next. You know, trying to, you know, just keep that fire alive other ways, as well as just that asset you're making that maybe not motivate you, you know. So
I think for me, you know, there's times at certain jobs where you're kind of tasked with like mundane things, right? And the thing that's kind of gotten me through it is, you know, obviously you just want to do a solid job in general, but the part that kind of gets me through it sometimes is finding that that inspiration or motivation outside of work in a way. So I find that the times I really get a lot of stuff done and just you know, do fun things is like when maybe things are a little mundane at work in terms of tasks, and you need to get that creative energy out elsewhere, right?
For sure, yeah.
So even if you're like doing something during the day that or at a job or whatever that's kind of like tedious, you kind of know that like when you get home you'll be able to do some cool shit, you'll be able to kind of do some creative thing. So it
balances
mentally
it out,
helps, right?
Big time, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. Always keep working on something that you want to be working on, you know, because one day if you keep that, you know, that flame alive and you're passionate about getting there and you're committed, you're dedicated, then it'll happen, you know. You just got to put that effort in, you know, and it as I say, doesn't happen overnight, you know, as you know as well, you know, like.
Yeah, no, totally.
Doesn't, you know, you have to go through bad times to get to the good times, and yeah,
I think
done my fair share of that. I was a waiter in a restaurant for 5 years, you know, while I was doing my own stuff, and I was just like, oh god, this is not fun, you know, like washing dishes in the back, you know. But I'd be thinking about like the mod work, and I'd be thinking about what am I going to animate next? What do I need for this jump, you know, while I was like washing dishes, you know. So just keep thinking about keep that flame alive in the back of your mind, you know, and yeah, together. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Have you ever had like a really bad job that's not animation related or games development?
Oh my god, I've had so many.
What was the worst
one?
What was the worst one?
The worst one, like I think off the top of my head, is I was doing night shift at a department store. In
what, security guard?
No, I was just.
Man,
like,
you're looking pretty buff.
That was back in it was no, I was like cleaning floors and restocking the shelves, making sure it was nice and like ready for like when the store opened at 9 in the morning. It was brutal. It was like, you know, you come in at at midnight, and yeah, that was brutal. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it was.
in a lot of ways, it was actually
It's a good motivator.
it was it was a great motivator.
Yeah.
Because like I was like, there's no way I'm doing this for the rest of my life, right? No way. So
I just can't. Yeah, but yeah, I totally agree, man. Those jobs, you know, they do keep that flame like flying. You know, like big time.
Especially at that age where you're impressionable and you're just
How
like.
old were you when you were?
I was in senior year of high school.
Oh wow.
It was like summer. It was a summer job.
Sounds brutal, man.
It was your whole sleep schedule, yeah. But I've had many learning moments like that. Just to kind of like tie up your question here, Tyler, is like, I find that when something is mundane, it's usually because it's repetitive, right? Like you can do something mundane and be like, oh, I'll bust that out, and then move on to something. But like as soon as you start doing something like 4, 5, 6 times, all of a sudden it's like very mundane. You're like,
yeah.
So for me, it's like, how do you make that less like? I always think of like, how do you automate stuff, right? So like, if I have to do like turn 45, turn 90, turn 135, and the other way around, like you have to do like 10 turn animations, something. It's like,
yeah.
I could spend, back in the day when you keyframe this stuff, I mean, you mocap it now, but like, I could spend 2 days doing this, or I could figure out where's the creative, like, what's the spark? Like, you could find a creative process to like be like, okay, if I reuse certain animation using layers and stuff like that. So maybe that's kind of something that I look at as well, to be like, hey, this is,
Yeah, I mean, like an example that's a good example. Making runs, I've had to do that as well. But like, I don't know, like challenge yourself. I mean, and see where you can go with it. Like if you are doing a job like that, like go talk to like the tech artist, the designer, and be like, what happens if we give him like a hop when you move sideways, so then a run when you move forward, or like a hop when he goes backwards, instead of just I'll do a run 8 times, 8 different directions. Like, sort of think about ways that you can make that better, and inspire yourself when you're working on those sort of tasks.
Yeah, that's true.
Just try and make the best of it, I guess, and then always look forward to what's coming next, and then be thinking about that stuff as well, and just eventually you'll get something which you really enjoy, and then it'll go from there. But just try and enjoy what you have, and try push it, challenge convention, as we always say, so.
Another question is, do you post stretches in the blocking phase, like all this stuff? Is that in your first pass?
Yes. Yeah, I find if I do the squash and stretch, especially sometimes smears, I tweak them when I'm splining, and I'll sort the timing out. On Brom, I like them to last quite a long time, so I post all of those in. Usually goes just after your apex, so then you start coming down. I usually do a spacing of 2, and then the contact, and then another 2, and then that's when you're compressed. And I found doing that 4 frame, on the way down, so it's like 2 frames, then 2 right down to the compression. It's like it's nice. So I usually always block those in.
Sorry, so you're up in the air,
yeah,
and then after 2 frames you're stretching.
Yeah. So say you're up in the air, and then you come down, and then as you hit the apex, and then you start coming down. Then start thinking about the smear, so you want to do, after 2 frames from there, that's when you want to do your contact pose, and then 2 more frames from there is when you do the compressed.
Gotcha.
So after the apex, then you start coming down, 4 frames to get to compressed, but then you use that middle point of 2 frames to do that nice smear frame.
Okay, and that when you hit your apex and you 2 frames after, that's kind of like the slow out.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you start
right?
coming down. So let it go for 2 after the 2. Sometimes it's 4 after the apex, but then use that 2 to the contact smear, then 2 right down to the compression. And I feel that's it depends how high you jump and then what the motion is, but like a lot of my jumps for league, that's sort of a good system to work by.
I notice, I could be wrong, but what I noticed some of this stuff is like you hold your stretch, like it feels like more than 2 frames. It feels like 3, 4 frames. I'm not sure.
It can be.
Which like I totally like. I feel like whenever I try to do that, it just looks weird. But this, like, you get away with it. You make it look good. Like, how do you
like this one?
Yeah, like holding the stretch for that long. Like my internal animation brain is like I can't do that. I can't do it. I have to get out of it. But how do you kind of like, what's your thought process in terms of like you just kind of like make it work?
It comes down, I would say, to posing. Like make sure those poses are like really nice to look at. If you have a really appealing pose, then milk it, you know, like. But if the pose isn't too nice and it's sort of a tween pose or something like that, and you're stretching it, you know, it's not going to be as nice on the eye. Like that build up for Jin when he did that W, that's like 4 or 5, maybe 6 frames where he's really up there stretched. But it's quite an appealing pose to look at. You know, it took me a while to mold that pose, but like I feel like if you get the poses really appealing, you know, you can hold those moments for longer. You know, especially landing, like contacts up when you're landing. They're like my favorite pose to do. You know, so.
That compression contact pose?
Yeah. So you have the stretch, and then like on the way down from a jump, you know, the stretch out, and then the contact with like one leg on the ground and one leg up, and then, you know, goes down. It just feels great, you know, offsetting those legs and then stretching them up.
Yeah, cool. Next question from Liam Reynolds is, how do you know what parts of your animation should be very quick timing wise, and where do you begin in knowing where to place your smear or stretch frames? So I guess. If I can understand the question more, is like, where do you, like, you have really good variation in your timing. It's like this kind of like slow, quick, slow, kind of like. I guess I'm interpreting the question to be,
I think
how do you know where to put that?
Yeah, so I think it comes back to the Apex example that we were talking about. You know, you start to get in a rhythm in your mind of where these things fit in and stuff like that. In a nutshell, though, just you know. It depends on the motion as well, you know. Like if you're doing a landing, that spacing of like 4 after the apex, then 2, and then 2, you know, that's usually a good one for landings. But if you're doing like a dash or something like that, you know, it's probably going to have to be like maybe quicker or something, and then sort of come into a pose where the body can keep flowing after that, and then sort of, you know, don't end things abruptly if you can. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think there's certain.
Every animator is different at the end of the day. I mean, everyone will sort of get in their own mindset when they're doing certain things they enjoy, you know, and they'll develop techniques.
I know it's like, it just kind of comes with experience too, right? Because like even doing something like let's say you're standing there and then you just turn to walk, you know, generally people will like just kind of do like a nice fluid turn. But then sometimes if we were to do it in League, for example, or you're doing something snappy, like maybe you're standing there and then you just kind of do like a snap turn and then start walking kind of thing, you know, like very.
Yeah, like, I feel the League version would be like a little bit to this side and then like down and then across, you know. Like I feel it would be like exaggerated, you know, because we like to exaggerate everything we do. So yeah, just like working with the style that you're going for, you know, and like using that in your animation, like our style obviously won't work in games that are sort of mocap, you know, so like the turn for those would be more like realistic, you know, it would be more really, but our turn would probably be like the timing would be like, you know, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the key is to, at least what I like to do is like look for opportunities, right? Like Roy was saying, look for moments where you can flourish, where you can add a nice arc here or there, and the key is to like. The key with variety is peppering it, right? Not going heavy on, like, don't flourish everything. That would be excessive.
Yeah,
right?
Overkill is something I've fallen victim of as well. You know, like sometimes not everything needs to be flashy. You know, like that turn we were talking about. You know, that probably doesn't need to be flashy. You know, like unless you're Zoolander and you can't turn left. You know, you have to turn right. but yeah, just using what you have and then sort of, you know, finding it out.
Well, that's a good question, though. This one's from Daniel Piro. Hey, Daniel. You seem to really love using strong smear frames in your animations. Would you even use smear frames on characters that you wouldn't normally expect them on, like Galio, whose whole character is based on being rock solid? So we got a lead player talking about Galio.
Definitely. Great job to the guys who animated that. Shum killed it on Galio, and he does use some of that stuff on there as well. It's part of our style, to be honest. We try use it whenever we can, you know. Obviously, you have a good point. Like characters like that, like won't be as squashy and stretchy as someone who's you know, made of flesh and like Braum, you know, or Jin, for example. You know, like those guys like lend themselves more to doing those techniques, but. You know, someone like Galio definitely has it in there, and you know, it adds to the feel and impact of gameplay. You know, like having a really contrasting pose, it adds to like the impact of pressing that button. You know, so if you press the button and then it goes from here to here, you know, just like you feel like a slap. You know, so it's a style that, since our game is very Twitch-based, responsive. You know, it's something that we need to incorporate on as much as we can. You know.
That kind of leads me to another question, which is like going off of Daniel's question, which is because Galileo is kind of like he's got a more sturdy frame. Like when you stretch poses and stuff like that, are you kind of like equally stretching everything, or do you feel like you try to keep like the upper torso like intact while like the lower torso stretches, or do you just kind of like treat it all as like this moldable piece?
I would say it depends. Again, it depends what the motion is. If you're doing like a dash, then yeah, stretch out the body and stuff. But if you're doing, the apex example, and someone's going up and coming down, then you don't want to be stretching that body down too fast, because then it look like that mass is all of a sudden accelerating. So that's a good point to just do the legs, and then sort of snap the body down towards the legs, and it just, it helps do that. I definitely say I don't stretch the torso as much as I do the legs. I'm always doing legs and arms, like these limbs, stretching out and slapping back. Same with the legs. I feel if you do it with the limbs more, you get more of a snap. But I mean, the body's obviously a good one to use, depending on the asset. But yeah, I try to do it mostly with the limbs.
Okay.
But I mean, Rek'Sai, good example of the body working, really well. You have to do it with his body, since it's very snake-like, and when he's coming up in and out the ground, you have to really stretch out and elongate those shapes of the body.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a good question, Daniel. Thanks. I think we're wrapped on questions, unless anyone's got any last ones here. Jalen's got a question. Will we be saving this video? Yeah, I think once we go off live, it'll get archived and it'll just be on the Facebook page too, so you guys can rewatch or check it out or whatever.
Yeah, and I'll be putting this video on my YouTube as well. I don't really use my Twitter too much, but yeah, this will be available on my YouTube if anyone wants to rewatch it or anything like that. Or
yeah, check out Rory's YouTube channel. He's got a bunch of other stuff on there too, and
yeah, I'm just trying to start it up. It's like
it's cool.
Looking for content. I don't want to post too much stuff, but like I think these really, I had a good response from this when I put the first one up there. It was just meant to be sort of like an internal thing for sort of style, collaboration and sort of consistency. But this stuff's all released. These videos only have released things on them, so
yeah, it's all work done in the past, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we got one question that just came in from Einar. Hey Einar, how's it going? Where do you look for references when you work on such creative creatures?
I look
like Rek'Sai, for example.
Oh yeah, okay. So a good reference for that, obviously, like famous stuff. I mean, you can't get away from it, like Alien and all that stuff. And but with this, as I said before, like the body shape was very snake-like. So like looking at how a snake moves and how that can influence the rest of the limbs. A snake doesn't have arms or legs. So imagine if a snake did have arms and legs, but all its muscle is still in the tube, so like with this attack, for example, like his body's launching his hand, and it goes against traditional ways to do it. The elbow should be leading on that. Like if a person was to do like, an attack, the elbow would lead and it would come through, but like since Rek'Sai's like his muscle mass is sort of in the center of his body, like, like launching himself and, just sort of using nature, obviously, when you're animating a creature, seeing it and then sort of looking at the design and working with concept artists and the other artists and just getting ideas, jamming and sort of, saying those words, let me come up with something,
Yeah.
And, come up, and then you just go back to your little laboratory of a desk and then come up with something, show people.
Yeah, I think that is a good question, and like, if you're having trouble, like sometimes it just pops in your head. You're like, oh, I remember this thing, and I can like go back to the bookmark and be like, this is exactly why I saved it, because it's going to be awesome, right?
Yeah.
But then sometimes you're like, oh, this is kind of like, I'm kind of stuck. So like when you get in those things, it's like you have to leverage everybody around you, right? Like the person who's giving you the task. It's basically like, tell me everything.
Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah,
and then they're like, oh, interested. Well, this is what I was thinking. And then like, fuse the two, see what you come up with. Yeah, but communicating with the concept artist and sort of the other guys on the team, and then sort of just finding out what the anatomy is and what can we add to make things better. Like that Rek'Sai, like I was working with a tech artist actually, and I was just like, can we put Jiggle, our in-house tool, which I'm so glad everyone's using now. Back in the old days, I was like, use Jiggle. Everyone was like, oh no, we didn't know that. I was like, guys, you need to use Jiggle.
For those that don't know, Jiggle's like I guess you could call it like a cloth sim dynamics.
Little
helper.
Yeah, but it doesn't really have collision. Well, we tried it, but it flips out. Odd's beard has collision on the beard, but it doesn't really work too well. But it's great for just getting free secondary. Like Jin's cape there. The bottom of the back of Jin's cape is Jiggle. And it's just does that really nice secondary. When we're animating Jin, we just focused on those poses. That's why I show it here without the cape. Because we were just animating Jin's body. Getting those poses right, and then we knew when we put the cape on, we'd have a little tiny bit of cleanup to do, but you're still going to get such nice free secondary, and that's all thanks to Jiggle. And Rek'Sai's tail is pretty much just Jiggle, with a helper controller at the top, just to get the swing on it, and then the Jiggle feeds off that, and it just does all your S curves and everything, for you.
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Nader. I think that's pretty much it. We're coming up to an hour anyway, so we want to keep it within that. Do you have? So everyone check out Rory's YouTube page. He'll keep posting stuff. I will put the pressure.
Sorry to keep plugging the YouTube. No,
put the pressure up on him.
I don't want to. I just put it on there because I've had requests that people like our style. So
no, dude, it's awesome. I love it.
If you get anything, and I hope a lot of our animation tests might come in a little bit more aligned now. If there's more resources available.
That's a good point.
I think all we're putting up there is the articles. Oh yeah, check out the articles as well.
Yeah.
Our animation dev blogs. There's quite a few of those up now.
I'll link those as well. There's like Rory has a really good one with Ram and Yasso, and
then there was another
Paul Jarvis did one with
Poppy, with the facial controls. That was awesome.
And then Luke did one with Ivor. And
Ivor's run.
All those. Those are the articles I send to people when they ask about like, things to do to, if you're interested in working at Rat. And to be honest, if you are interested, it's like this is the blueprint. I feel like this is the blueprint. Like what Rory's doing here. It's like this is the kind of stuff that's really appealing. I feel like so.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to like the squash and stretch stuff. So, like, I feel, and it's just, it's a really fun. It is really fun. I find, like, I would find it difficult to not animate like this going forward in my career. Like, I don't know what I would do if I wasn't animating like this. I'd just be making my own thing, probably animating like this. My own game, like my own beat 'em up or something. Yeah, because it's so fun, to do these contrasting poses, the snappiness. That brings me to a question. Do you want to? So we wanted to do a little giveaway because we have a merch store. We have like these little models, or we'll just send some loot out. If people want to send in a run cycle or like something that represents the word happy, I was thinking like something that represents happy. Whether you want to do like an idol or like a really fun statue pose, that could be literally outside our office. It has to be epic if you're just going to do a pose. Or what I was thinking was a run cycle or a walk cycle or like a skip cycle, something that represents the word happy, and then the winner will get loot sent to them, just let Jason know where you are. We'll send you like loads of loot, you know what I mean? So
comment in here or comment here probably the best way. And
we should make
what's that?
Should we make a post after this and just put it on your page and just say the competition's now open and the closing date?
Sure, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
And then we'll like Roy said, we'll send loot out to the one we pick. So, hey Rory, anything else you want to add? Anything you want to last words?
I really don't know what else people want to know. Thanks to everyone for watching the video. Thanks for being inspired by our work. Right Animation team's flattered with all the feedback we get. We've been working our asses off, and we thank all of you for liking and playing the game. If there's any League players there, keep playing it. And that competition, Happy, is open. I look forward to.
Somebody was asked, what's the deadline for that? I guess we'll figure it out.
Probably we don't want to be too long, but like maybe end of the month, something.
Sounds good.
A couple of weeks. But yeah, don't spend too much time on it, guys, if you've got jobs and stuff, but just a run cycle or a walk cycle, and then happy is the word.
Happy.
So just get creative, I'm already getting creative. Like you could do a skip cycle, you could do like a skip cycle, or you could do like a skipping rope cycle, or like you can do anything, like happy is the word.
And then the one that makes us both happy when we're judging it,
There you go.
you guys get that loot sent to you, you know, and I'll make sure it's a big box of loot as well.
Oh wow, Rory's making promises.
Big promises, yeah.
All right, well, we appreciate the questions, guys, and it was fun, Rory. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was awesome. We will, you know, like I said, I'm going to try to do more of these, and we were talking about maybe doing a review later on or something like that. I'll get a few animators up, and we'll just kind of do like this kind of like Facebook Live review and just kind of critique some stuff, and
Cool.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So.
I'm going to try get another one of these up in a month or two. I'm probably going to be going into some Yasuo and Kindred stuff next.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fun. Cool.
Yeah.
You did. You were on Kindred as well.
Kindred, yeah.
Nice.
Kindred.
Awesome.
There'll be quite a few of these now, yeah. But I think each one has its own sort of identity with this style that, you know, offers a little bit new. So.
Okay. Sweet, man. Thanks, everyone. Until next time.
See ya.